This tutorial is for 4th grade, Module 3, Lesson 18. In this lesson, we're going to use the forgiving method of division. The forgiving method is different than the standard algorithm, which the students will be expected to master by 6th grade. In the forgiving method, we set up our problem the same way as in a standard algorithm. My first problem is 46 divided by 2. 46 is the dividend, it goes inside the bracket. 2 is the divisor, and it goes outside of the bracket. The nice part about the forgiving method is that students have a chance to enter the problem at any level that makes sense to them. For example, if I'm trying to figure out how many groups of 2 I can get out of 46, I could start with something as simple as 10. Most students are pretty good at multiplying by 10. So if I have 10 groups of 2, that's 20. I'm going to start then by pulling 20 out of 46, or subtracting 20 out of 46. I do the subtraction, and I have 26 left, which tells me I can pull yet another 10 groups of 2 out of 26. So I'm keeping track on the side how many groups of 2 I'm using. So I'll use another 10 groups of 2, which means I'm going to subtract 20 again, and that leaves me with 6. I know that 2 times 3 equals 6, so now I'm going to take 3 groups of 2 out, subtract that 6, and I have no remainder. My final answer is the total number of groups of 2 that I subtracted from 46. So I'll add these up on the side for a total of 23. And I'll put my answer, or my quotient, up at the top of the bracket. So again, students enter the problem at a level that they can handle and that makes sense to them. I'll show you another way that other students might handle this same problem. Instead of thinking of 10 groups of 2, some students might see right away that they can take 20 groups of 2 out of 46, since 20 times 2 is 40. So they might start right there and take 40 out, which leaves 6. And again, they would take 3 groups of 2 out of 6 for no remainder, and the total number of groups is still 23. So students who have a greater ability with mental math might jump to pulling that 20 groups out right from the start, which is fine. The whole idea is to move the kids toward more efficient solutions, but we do want students to have the ability to start the problem at an entry point that makes sense to them. Let's look at the next problem. Here I have 96 divided by 3. And let's look at different ways that students could solve this problem. Again, they might start off by taking 10 groups of 3 at a time. So I would start with 30, subtract that, which leaves 66. And I could take another 10 groups of 3 out, which leaves 36. And then one more group of 3, which leaves 6. And that would be 2 groups of 3. 2 times 3 is 6. And I have no remainder. Now I just need to add the total number of groups of 3 I've taken out. So I have 10, 20, 30, 32. 32 times 3 equals 96. 32 is the answer. Students with stronger multiplication skills might jump into this problem with a higher number. Some students might think, well, we know that 2 times 3 is 6, so 20 times 3 is 60. We'll subtract that, which leaves 36. Then I can take 10 groups of 3 out, which leaves 6, and 2 groups of 3, which gives me no remainder. Add up the number of groups, and again we get 32. So jumping in with 20 groups of 3 gets us through the problem a little bit faster. Let's look at a couple more problems, bearing in mind that, again, these are just possible solutions. Students might not all solve them the same way, which is fine. This problem is 85 divided by 5. 85 is my dividend. 5 is the divisor. I'm going to start by taking 10 groups of 5 out of 85. 10 times 5 is 50. Again, lots of students like to start with 10 because they can usually do that multiplication pretty easily. I do my subtraction and I get 35, and I can think of my basic fact, 5 times 7 is 35. So I take 7 groups of 5 out and I have no remainder. Add up the number of groups, which is 17, and 17 is my quotient. One more problem here is 52 divided by 4. You can start with 10 groups of 4, which is 40. Subtract that and I get 12, and then I know that 3 times 4 is 12. I can subtract that for no remainder. Add up my groups and I have 13. So 52 divided by 4 is 13. Just another example of how this problem could be solved.